It was the fantasy suite dates last night on The Bachelor, but who spent the night with Arie wasn't actually the most shocking thing that happened. Leslie from 106.3 The Groove has our recap.
Ooh.
We'll get to the shocking thing.
Oh, yeah, because that's the end, of course.
Yeah, but let's start with Kendall's date.
Kendall's date went great. They got to go. They were in Peru, by the way. Nice little fantasy dates there. They went on dune buggies on these sand mountains. They were gorgeous, beautiful. And they went up this one cliff and got to almost like, I don't know what other words you say, but snowboard down one of these sand dune things. It was awesome. And they seemed to really have a great time. And they really seemed to connect. They have a lot of fun. But she was in her head. Again, she has been saying for a while now, I don't know if I can get there. And basically saying, like, I don't see it necessarily right now with him. But she said she's falling for him. Falling in love. And he said words, falling in love with you. That becomes important in a little while.
Yes.
They spend the night together in good conversation, as they both made sure that they emphasized conversation.
Yeah.
And things seem to go well with them. They both say they can see a future together at this point.
Side note, the internet is comparing Kendall to Peter from Rachel's season.
Oh, that's
both,
great.
you know, falling, but they're not sure if they can do the thing. But let's move on to Lauren's.
Lauren's date, they also were in Peru. They got to take a plane to look over the geoglitz items thing. That's really cool. I can remember the name of what they're called, but how cool is that? But the whole time you can tell Lauren, again, in her head, like he has admitted he's seen glimpses of her, who she really is. And she says to him, look, the stronger I feel for you, the stronger my fears are that I'm going to get hurt. And she's like, I don't know if I can go on with this. And it scared Arie to the point where he says, I'm in love with you. I'm that confident.
They did a lot of I love yous back and forth.
He said, I'm in love, not falling in love with you. So you're like, oh my gosh. And of course, she takes the fantasy suite. Again, more conversation with that.
So we have a one, I'm falling in love, and one, I love you for sure. So let's go to Becca's date.
Okay, Becca's date was awesome. They got to take a catamaran and go on the water. It was beautiful. And, you know, she asked him a lot of questions like, do you have any doubts with me? And she feels so confident, and she wants to tell him she does love him. She waits until dinner for that, basically saying, you know, I was skeptical on this whole thing until hometown dates, when she was already falling for him, and she realized, I am in love with you. And Arie says, I love you back.
So this is kind of reminiscent of Ben. Do you remember when Ben said, I love you to two women, and everyone freaked out? This is very...
So now two women he said, I love you to. One, I'm falling in love. So right away you get an idea of probably who might be gets sent home. I mean, that was right away, like, okay, well, you think it's all great and stuff. And the next morning they spend the night together. Again, good conversations. You cannot wipe the smile off Becca's face.
Yeah.
Nothing could ruin this. Famous last words.
And then it gets ruined.
Yes, because
who shows up?
Guy shows up to Arie's door, and he introduces himself as Ross, an ex of Becca's that she had been with for 7 years. And he said, this is my proposal to give to her. She's my soulmate. I want her back. Arie actually handled it pretty well. He said, well, you know, we're pretty far. We've both told each other we love each other. But I can't speak for Becca.
But Arie did say he was very angry.
He was very angry about this.
Ross goes on to talk to Becca.
Yes, her face was priceless. It was both shock and anger, to the point where she's just like, what are you doing here? I'm not letting you in. I'll talk to you for a few minutes. And he basically won't let her talk, pours his heart out to her. And she's just like, wait a minute. Basically, where was this? Like, I didn't even know who you were when we broke up.
Yeah.
And now you're doing this? And she was mad that he went to talk to Arie. And so, because she's worried.
Well, and of course, Becca talks to Arie and says, please don't let this, you know, taint what we have going on. I still love you. You still love me.
Yes.
And that's how they go into the rose ceremony.
Exactly.
Right off of that. What ends up happening at the rose ceremony? He,
again, before anything starts, he pulls Kendall aside, which I thought was good of him, and basically says, I don't think we're there and we can get there in time, and sends her home that way instead of kind of doing that in front of everybody else, which I thought was nice of him to do. She handled it really well and admitted she was frustrated that she could not see them in the future. So that wraps
really
it
quick,
up.
Leslie, pick your final.
I think it's Becca, but I think there's a twist.
We both think there's a twist.
Yes.
Who will Arie pick to be his wife? Don't miss the finale of The Bachelor on KGUN 9 next Monday, 3 hours, you guys. Then tune into The Blend on Tuesday for a final recap, and visit 1063thegroove.com to read Leslie's blog.